Right after high school, something extraordinary happened. I received a full scholarship to embark on a gap year program. And for those of you who are not familiar, a gap year program essentially means taking a pause or a break from a traditional life. Taking a break from classrooms, from schedules, from the traditional educational system to go travel or doing internship or working on something that you're passionate about. Usually people take this after high school and before they were embarking for college, and that's exactly what I did. But for some other people, it can come later in life as well. The tagline of our program are 10 countries, 10 months, 100 plus skills, which means that throughout the duration of the program, we will travel around the world, all the way to the US, Panama, Costa Rica, and many other countries to learn skills along the way. Now imagine this. Within 1 week, we will be moving cities. And within 2 weeks, we will be moving countries. It's exhausting and challenging, but I'm not going to lie. It is one of the most rewarding experiences that I've had in life. And picture this. One day, I would be strolling through the bustling markets of Bangkok, smelling all the good foods there. Another day, I will be building eco home in Costa Rica while knowing nothing about it. And then another day, I will be scuba diving and found myself in the depths of the oceans. Those are the kind of like day-to-day that I had when I was traveling during my gap year. And I want to bring all of us to one of the stories that I had when we were in Costa Rica, especially in rural Costa Rica. Now, we were told that we will visit an educational center to learn more about sustainability and permaculture. But the itinerary comes with a note that throughout the trip or throughout the durations of about 10 days that we will spend at that educational center, we will have no connections. And yes, that means no Wi-Fi, no cellular data. You cannot call your parents, you cannot text your friends, you cannot scroll through social media or post on Instagrams, nothing. And for us, Gen Z, those are the things that is very unthinkable. I sometimes find myself anxious if my phone batteries is about to die. So, having to go through this kind of experience is something that is so unthinkable for me. But I did it, and I told myself to challenge myself that let's try this. I remember that I felt so many emotions. And if you're wondering what exactly did we do throughout those 10 days, we were planting trees, we read books, we take a nap for 5 hours, we would cook, and we would do everything except for playing with our phones. Now the feelings that I had were so mixed. I remember feeling challenged, relaxed, bored, of course, a little homesick. But one of the very interesting feelings that I observed was the feeling of guilt. I felt guilty. I tried to process this emotion with my field advisor. I asked her, why do you think I felt guilty of laying in the hammocks for 5 hours taking a nap? Why will I feel guilty about reading books for 3 hours on things that I'm so passionate about? And it turns out her answer gave me some sort of clarity that the very exact world that I am trying so hard to disconnect from, the digital 24/7 world, is probably the source of guilt in itself. That in this fast-paced environment, taking a break, even for a small moment, seems like a failure. Meanwhile, life is not a competition to begin with. And because of this moment, I had a realization that I reflected upon my life, that I probably should not be thinking about what the society thought I should be. I should simply be. And those were one of the moments that were planted into my head up until today. Now, the second experiences that I had was when we were visiting India. And one part of the itinerary there was to actually hike for 6 days in the Himalayas. Well, it sounds very cool. And it was cool, of course. It's 6 days in the Himalayas, like you're just hiking with your friends, you will eat food there. But please note that I am probably the least sporty person in the group itself. I barely do any exercises, and I remember the last hike that I went to, I was so exhausted that I could barely finish it. So for me, this hike was particularly very, very challenging. I remember texting my field advisor. I told him, should I skip this? Should I just, stay in my hotels and not going on the hike? My field advisor told me that give it a go. We're gonna take a lot of breaks. It will simply just walking, in which he lied. It wasn't walking, it was hiking, so it was much more difficult. And he told me that I would probably miss one of the biggest bonding moments if I were not to go on this hike. So with a lot of hesitations and with maybe a little bit of determination, I decided to take upon the challenge. I went on the hike. The first day was okay. Maybe it was the adrenaline rush. Maybe it was the burst of energy on the first day. First day was just fine. The second day is when the reality actually clicks and hits. Physically, my body was so sore and aching. My feet were actually full of blisters. I was so exhausted. I find it very, very challenging. And mentally, I was battling all of the demons inside of my head that told me, you cannot finish this. Should you just give up? One day turns into 2 days, turns into 3, 4, 5, 6 days. We arrive on the last day. And I remember for the last day, instead of sleeping in our tents, we will lay our sleeping bags and gaze directly into the starry night sky and have a sleep over there. Vividly, I remember feeling a rare sense of accomplishment. It's euphoric. It's as if you have tackled something that is so out of your comfort zone that you felt so accomplished once you actually went through it. And that experience actually taught me one thing, that real personal growth probably happens when you try to step out of your comfort zone. Just enough in the learning zone, not dangerous, but that's where the real growth happened. Now, what I want all of us here to get out from this talk is not that for all of us to went on a gap year program. Well, of course you can if you wanted to. But let's try to reflect upon our life and maybe take a gap day or even a few gap minutes that you will be able to reflect upon your life, redirecting the axis of your life to the direction that you would like it to be. For me, my experience in Costa Rica taught me about mindfulness. And my experience in India taught me about stepping outside of my comfort zone, because that's where the real growth happens. Life never comes with an instruction manual. And maybe that's what makes it so exciting and beautiful. The fact that we are able to experiment, fail, succeeded at something, try again if something doesn't work. That's probably what makes life worth living. Let me ask these questions to all of us here. Are you ready to pause, reflect, and redirecting your life into the direction where the axis of your life becomes more positive? I'm Sherly Budiman. Thank you so much for listening to my TEDx talk.